Will this be the year that Oregon finally breaks through and makes the college football playoff? The Ducks have been in the thick of playoff contention in 3 of the last 4 years, but have suffered late season losses that ultimately kept them out of that Final Four. But this year, this could be the year, and this could be the team that the Ducks finally get back to winning the Pac-12 and making the college football playoff and having their shot at a national championship. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad that you could join us today, getting ready to break down and analyze and predict Oregon's schedule and record for this upcoming college football season. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country over there, beating out over 80% of the national analysts and handicappers each of the last 5 years. Yes, we've been better than 80% of the handicappers each of the last 5 years. Guaranteed money right in your pocket here at the Gridiron Expert. Go sign up today. Check out our Patreon account as well. Become a member of our Patreon Wall of Fame and gain access to exclusive college football content throughout the entirety of the year. And also, send us some gear. Let's get some Pac-12 representation up on our background as we continue to work through our background, continue to expand it. We are trying to grow our GE Nation and have representation from every team from coast to coast. Check out the address down in the description below and get your team represented today. So let's take a look at Oregon. I really love this Ducks team. Last year, I thought Dan Lanning in his first year in Eugene did a phenomenal job. 10-3 season. Only losses were a blowout season opening loss to Georgia, the reigning national champions. The national champions last year, of course. 37-34 loss to Washington and a 38-34 loss to Oregon State in a game where the Ducks led 31-10 well into the third quarter. That game against Washington ultimately was the game that eliminated them from college football playoff contention. A couple of years ago, it was a loss to Utah. A couple of years ago, it was Arizona State. Those late season losses have kept the Ducks out of that Final Four. Question is, can they get there this year? When you start on the offensive side of the ball, they're loaded. 8 starters back, led by the Heisman Trophy candidate in Bo Nix. He is phenomenal. Over 3,500 total yards last year. 43 touchdowns last year as well. He can beat you through the air, extremely active, can beat you on the ground. He's truly unbelievable. Bucky Irving is back at running back. 3 of their top 4 pass catchers are back. They had Trayshawn Holden in from Alabama. I mean, this is a good Oregon offense. Everybody's going to be quick to say, Kenny Dillingham's gone, new offensive coordinator. Well, I love the new hire in Will Stein, bringing him in as the coordinator from UTSA, where the Roadrunners averaged over 36.8 points per game last year. This is a good offense. They could be even better than they were last year, which is a scary thought. The defense is where they need the most work. Oregon allowed 27.4 points per game last year, nearly 400 yards per game last year. That was kind of a shot with Lanning being such a defensive-minded coach. 8 starters back on that side of the ball, though. 5 of their top 8 tacklers returned to Eugene this year. The key for Oregon is the secondary. The run defense, pretty salty. Can they stop the pass after giving up over 250 passing yards per game? That is the million-dollar question. You take a look at Oregon's schedule, though, it's very favorable. I will say that. Obviously, all the games after the bye week are tough. The only tough game in the month of September is the road game at Texas Tech. We think they start 1-0 with a win over Portland State, and then they go on the road to Texas Tech in the Tyler Shugg reunion game. If you remember, Tyler Shugg was the quarterback at Oregon for a little bit, ultimately transferred to Lubbock to be with the Red Raiders, so he's getting to face off against his former team. And I will say, this will truly test Oregon's secondary. That arguably the weakness of their defense that is improving will be better, but how quickly can they be better in week 2, facing one of the more prolific passing attacks in the country? A Texas Tech passing attack that averaged over 300 passing yards per game last year and now returns everybody on offense. This Red Raiders offense will be lethal. It's going to be a fun game in week 2. Very underrated and probably will be kind of overlooked because of the Alabama-Texas matchup. But this game's going to be really sneaky good. But I'm going to give Oregon the win here. I like Bo Nix over Tyler Shugg by a landslide, especially if Shugg can't stay healthy. I like the Oregon offense as a whole better than Texas Tech's. And then I'm going to lean Oregon's defense as well. The Red Raiders, their weakness is their defense as a whole. They won 8 games last year, which was phenomenal. The defense still up in the air, and I think Oregon will exploit that. I think you could see a high-scoring game in Lubbock, but give me Oregon across the board. I think the Red Raiders, the main area that they help the advantage in is home field advantage. I think Oregon can overcome that. So they're 2-0. Then I think they win out the rest of September. They're not losing to Hawaii. They're not losing to Colorado and Deion Sanders. It ain't happened. They beat them 49-10 last year. This is a Colorado team that everybody's hyping up because of all the transfers they're bringing in. I'm not sure that's going to pan out like people think, at least in the first year. And they're certainly not losing to Stanford, who Oregon beat 45-27 last year, but the Cardinal going to be one of the worst teams, not just in the Pac-12, maybe in the country, as they are dealing with life without David Shaw and a team that is pretty much bare of talent. No talent on Stanford's team this year. It's going to be a rough year for the Cardinal. So Oregon enters their bye week at a perfect 5-0. They're rolling. Top 10 team in the country, looking good, have their sights set on the playoff. They come out of the bye week to take on Washington. And talk about a revenge game, right? I mean, Washington stormed into Eugene last year as 12.5-point underdogs and upset the Ducks 37-34. Unbelievable. It ruined Oregon's playoff hopes late in the season. I believe it was like second week of November. And it was shocking. It was just an ultimate shock. I don't think anybody saw Oregon losing that game. And many will point out, well, Bo Nix got hurt. Bo Nix got hurt. Yes, he did. Got hurt later in that game. Still doesn't really excuse the fact that Oregon's defense gave up 408 passing yards to Michael Penix and that Huskies offense that actually had the #1 rating passing attack in the nation last year, averaging 370 passing yards per game. Look, I know Oregon has only lost in Seattle twice since the year 2000. I know Seattle really hasn't been that much of a home field advantage for Washington when they've played Oregon. But this Washington team with Kalen DeBoer, to me, is just a little bit different. They got the home field advantage here. They returned Michael Penix. They returned the majority of their top pass catchers. They returned 8 starters on defense, from a defense that wasn't as bad as people think last year. Washington, like Oregon, is coming off a week of rest. It's going to be a tough, intense, physical matchup, and I was so tempted to pick Oregon to get revenge over the Huskies, but I just can't pull myself to do it. I think the Oregon secondary improves, but not enough to shut down a Washington offense and a Washington passing attack that might even be better than they were last year, which was a very scary thought. A great quarterback battle between Nix and Penix. Washington gets the win, though. Oregon takes their first loss of the year at 5-1. They bounce back the next week, beat Washington State. You know, it was kind of funny. You know, we picked Washington State to beat Oregon last year, and honestly, we should have gotten that pick right. Oregon had a miraculous comeback after trailing 34-22 with under 4 minutes left. Ultimately won the game 44-41 in Pullman. Now the game in Eugene, Oregon should take care of business. It's a good bounce-back game there. It's nice for Oregon to have that game sandwiched in between Washington and Utah, 2 of their toughest opponents on their schedule this year. They go on the road to Salt Lake City knowing that the room for error, the margin for error, is gone. If Oregon loses again, Pac-12 title hopes could still be intact, but college football playoff hopes are done. They're not getting in with 2 losses. And I hate to say it, but they will take their second loss on October 28th at Utah. Utah is scary good, guys. They have won 2 straight Pac-12 championships. They bring back their star quarterback in Cam Rising. They have maybe the best offensive line in the Pac-12 this year, one of the best in the country, and their defense is absolutely phenomenal with 9 starters back after only allowing about 21 points per game last year, and actually held this really good Oregon offense to 326 yards in Eugene last year. The Ducks beat Utah 20-17 in a game filled with lots of mistakes on both sides. Oregon able to pull up that 3-point victory, but let's be honest, they haven't won in Salt Lake City since 2016. They were blown out in Salt Lake City 38-7 the last time they visited the Utes in 2021. Utah is 26-2 at home over the last 5 years. The last loss at home was in 2020, the COVID year, against USC, and that was with less fans. That was in full capacity. If you don't want to count that, they haven't lost at home since, I believe it was week 3 of the 2018 season against Washington. This Utah team in Salt Lake City is dang near unstoppable. They are so tough, and this team for Utah has a chance to be just as good, if not better, than they were last year. So all that being said, while the sense of urgency is there for Oregon, I just don't think they have enough to win this game on the road. Utah hands them their second loss of the year. The Ducks are 6-2. Playoff hopes dash. New Year's Six bowl hopes and Pac-12 title hopes not so much. They're still in the hunt for both. They beat California. Again, a great bounce-back game there. If you look at the schedule here, the 3 toughest games in conference play for Oregon, Washington, Utah, and USC, they have 2 great buffer games in between them. They get the bye week going into Washington. They get Washington State going into Utah. They get California going into USC. Really, really beneficial. Kind of great bounce-back recovery weeks or preparation weeks for Oregon. I think they beat California relatively handily, beat them by 18 points last year, won 12 of the last 14 games against the Golden Bears. Then they play USC. This is big here, right? This could determine if Oregon has a 10-win season or 9-win season, or if they start to fall apart, or if they're still in Pac-12 title contention. They are still in the hunt, believe it or not, despite having 2 losses here. It's going to be kind of a jumbled mess at the top of the Pac-12 standings with USC, Washington, Utah, and Oregon. But they face USC in Eugene. It's a huge game for both. Pac-12 title implications for both, playoff implications possibly for USC in this game if they are undefeated or even just a one-loss team on November 11th. These two teams last met in the 2020 Pac-12 championship game, one that Oregon actually won. And I'll tell you this, I like Oregon to win this game. I really, really do love Oregon to win this game. A great offensive battle between Caleb Williams and Bo Nix. It's going to be more than likely a night game in Eugene. It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be a heck of a showdown. But I love the Ducks in this spot. USC's a heck of a team, but they're not going undefeated. I can tell you that. I don't feel confident in Lincoln Riley's squad to go undefeated. They're going to drop a regular season game, maybe even 2. One of those games is going to be against Oregon on November 11th. The Ducks are practically unstoppable at home as well. We mentioned Utah, how good they are in Salt Lake City. Oregon, 27-2 at home over the course of the last 5 years. They don't lose in Austin Stadium. They don't lose in Eugene. I'm going to give them that win over USC. What's going to be an intense, close shootout game. Kind of like USC's game against Utah last year. The Utes winning that game in the regular season 43-42. Give me the Ducks to pull out a thriller over the Trojans and shake up not just the Pac-12 title race, but the college football playoff race as well. They go on the road after the game against USC to face Arizona State. A cool game there. Arizona State now led by Kenny Dillingham, who was the offensive coordinator for Oregon last year. So interesting reunion there, but obviously an Arizona State team that's in the face of a major rebuild. Dillingham, I think, is the right man for the job, but he's not going to have enough to take down his former team. Oregon does beat the Sun Devils, and then they face off against Oregon State, a team they should have beat last year. Let's be honest here. They were leading 31-10 on the road late in the third quarter and then just collapsed and ultimately lost 38-34. Oregon outgained the Beavers by 142 yards and still managed to lose the game. I mean, they had the edge in every aspect except the final score. This year, the Beavers come to Eugene, a place like we just mentioned. Oregon's dang near unstoppable, dang near unbeatable. They just don't lose there. With revenge on their mind against their rival, still in Pac-12 title contention, and certainly still in New Year's Six Bowl contention, Oregon, I just don't see losing the Beavers, even though they are a team that's a legitimate Pac-12 title contender. So with that, Oregon finishes the year at 10-2, which is actually an improvement from last year. Oregon was 10-3 last year, won their bowl game over North Carolina. They were 9-3 by season's end. So 10-2 is still a one-game improvement in the regular season than last year. They're going to have a shot at Pac-12 title. And honestly, if they pull off a win over Washington or Utah, more than likely it would be Washington, not the Utes. They would be 11-1, going to the Pac-12 championship game, one win away from the college football playoff. This team is good, guys. The Pac-12 as a whole is really, really good. I think it's going to be a conference where a lot of teams just beat up on each other. It's going to be hard to have that guy at the top that's just untouchable. USC, Oregon, Utah, Oregon State even, UCLA, Washington. These are good teams that are all going to be fighting for one of those top 2 spots. Oregon will certainly be in the mix by season's end. Playoff, don't think it's happening this year, but New Year's Six Bowl and Pac-12 championship, very, very possible. The Ducks are going to be one of the best teams in the country, no doubt about it. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com, including our Patreon account for exclusive college football content year-round, and check out the address to send us some gear of your team to be represented in every single Gridiron Expert video for the rest of the year. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.